Hey everyone, welcome to M2F Stories. Today I am going to share with you Magician's Assistant, Part 2. So if you are new to the channel, then please consider subscribing. Magician's Assistant, Part 2, The Table Talk. Hey, Matt exclaimed. Isn't that Magatrix over there? Where? Mary asked as she began to scan the cauldron's main room. Over there, standing just inside of the doorway that's a little to the right of the bar. You know, the one that most likely leads back to the dressing rooms that the performers use. Matt bobbed his head in the general direction of where he thought he had caught a glimpse of the striking female magician. I don't see her. Well, unless I'm way off base here, I do believe that that's her. Are you referring to the redhead in that abbreviate black satin dress? Yes, a relieved Matt returned thankfully. That is her, isn't it? I'm not sure. Well, I am, Vicky said smugly. And as much as I hate to say this, Matt's right. I do believe that that's Magatrix all right. And though I can't be sure yet, I think that there's someone in the hallway behind her, someone wearing something silver. Mary confirmed the fact that Vicky was right, and that there was someone wearing some sort of silvery outfit visible in the hallway behind Magatrix. And that whomever it was, the person was definitely a female, and though the cauldron's diffused lighting made it hard to tell, she appeared to be a strawberry blonde. Could that someone be Jasmine in that silver leotard that Magatrix fitted her out with? Matt asked. Could be, Mary replied. Except whoever it is, she doesn't appear to be wearing evening gloves. No, she isn't, Vicky broke in, confirming Mary's assertion. And I do believe that I caught glimpses of a hemline every now and again, so it's mostly likely a dress and not a leotard. See? Vicky proclaimed a moment or so later as Magatrix, dressed in a sexy black satin cocktail dress, and Jasmine, in a similarly cut liquid silver one, began to casually lace their way across room. I was right. It definitely was a dress that I saw. A minute or so later, Magatrix, with Jasmine in tow, approached the table that was occupied by the group from Jeff's work and politely asked, "Excuse me, would it be all right with you all if Jasmine and I joined you?" Even as Matt was in the process of doing the gentlemanly thing by getting up as a precursor to his offering his chair to Magatrix, Bob Carlson assumed the role of spokesman for the group and cordially said, "Please do." "Jasmine," Magatrix urged, "why don't you introduce me to all these nice friends of yours?" Jasmine complied with Magatrix's directive. Starting with the spunky Mary Ellen Edwards, who was seated immediately to her right, Jasmine proceeded around the table in a counterclockwise direction. "Thank you, Jasmine," Magatrix said at the completion of the introduction process. "Now that you have introduced me to all of your friends here, I think it's time for you to close your eyes and go to sleep." Those enchanting emerald eyes of Jasmine's flicked and then closed as her chin correspondingly drooped and settled on that ever-so-elegant Audrey Hepburn-like neck stalk of hers. "Good girl, that's it. Now take a deep breath and go into a very deep and relaxing sleep. Jasmine, the next time you hear me say the name Rapunzel, while you will remain fast asleep until I instruct you to awake, you will no longer be my lovely female assistant Jasmine. You will once again become the male Jeffrey Gibson. However, when you do become Jeffrey Gibson, you will, for the time being, remain oblivious to the fact that your body is still that of a female's until I direct you to do otherwise. Do you understand?" "Yes," Jeff dreamily muttered. "Good, Rapunzel. Now, Jeff, your friends are going to once again ask you some questions. You are to answer them as honestly as you can, all right?" "Yes." "All right. How about we start with you, Mary? And then we can work our way around the table," Magatrix said. "All I ask of is that you all ask questions that you already know the answer to. You know, so that you can verify that what Jeffrey here is telling us is true, and that, while he might not look like his old self, he really is your friend Jeff. Also, I want all of you to pay close attention to both Jeff's choice or words and the way he phrases his replies. Okay, Mary, you're up. Go ahead. Ask the first question." For the next 10 minutes or so, Jeff's friends put one question after another to him/her. "Well," Bob Carlson finally gave up the ghost and said, "As reluctant as I am to have to say this, I'm convinced. She's Jeff, all right. I mean, even if Jeff was backstage feeding Jasmine here the correct answers, over some sort of high-tech transceiver, there's just no way he would have answered some of those questions. As in, he would have balked. Especially so, given how personal quite a few of those questions were. I'm afraid I have to agree, Matt reluctantly offered. Knowing Jeff as I do, I know that he wouldn't have wanted some of that stuff he just told us about to get out and thereby become fodder for the rumor mill at work. As in, he wouldn't have wanted some of that stuff to become, I guess you could say, public knowledge. And because of that, I really think that we all should agree right here and now that whatever we heard him tell us tonight goes no further than this table. As in, it stays right here. Matt's right, Mary jumped into the fray. I mean, as flattered as I was to hear Jeff admit that he likes me and would like to go out with me, I really think we need to make sure that we don't repeat anything that he wouldn't want everybody and his brother to know. All right? Though a few did so grudgingly, Matt and Mary, working in conjunction with one another, managed to secure a concession from each and every member of their group. That is to say that, after a little haggling, they all agreed that all the personal information that Jeff had divulged about himself would remain sacrosanct. Question! Magatrix interjected herself into the conversation. By any chance, did any of you pay any attention to those things I mentioned before? As far as word choice and the way Jeff phrased his answers? Yes, Vicky replied brightly. Yes, I did. And I must say, were it not for the feminine voice, it was Jeff all the way. Everyone else, to one degree or another, found themselves forced to concur with Vicky. Good, Magatrix asserted. While I know I haven't convinced all of you that this gorgeous young woman who is seated next to me is really your friend and cohort Jeffrey Gibson, is it safe for me to assume that none of you can provide me with positive proof that she isn't? Then, when no one said anything to refute her, Magatrix continued. No. Good. So I guess we can proceed on from here. Jeff, in a few minutes, one of the Cauldron's waitresses will come to our table to see if anyone wants another drink. When she does, you will wake up. However, you will feel and behave as though you are in a very pleasant, liquor-induced stupor. That's to say that you will act as if you are on the verge of becoming the subdued, or, if you will, the introverted version of shit-faced. And no matter what happens or what anybody else but me says to you, you will remain completely oblivious to the fact that your body is that of a female until I direct otherwise. Do you understand what I have just told you? Yes, Jeff groggily muttered. Jeff, tell me, what is your favorite mixed drink? Sounding much the way an automaton might, Jeff's ever-so-sultry voice meekly intoned, a pina colada. Good. Well, when the waitress gets around to you, I want you tell her that you would like her to bring you a pina colada. Then, after you have told the waitress what you would like to drink, your awareness of what is occurring around you will gradually improve until you reach a point where you are completely lucid and you can begin to function normally. That's to say that you will reach a point where you will be able not only follow the conversation, but you will shortly thereafter be able to take part in it as well. However, Jeffrey, even when your perception has reached a stage where it is once again crystal clear, you will continue to remain oblivious to the fact that your body is sexually out of sync with your mind. In other words, you will remain completely unaware of the fact that your body is still that of a young woman's. And should anyone make mention of, or for that matter even allude to the fact that you're not your normal male self, you are to simply ignore them. Do you understand? Yes, Jeff replied dreamily. I understand. All right, Jeffrey. I want you to listen very, very carefully to what I'm about to tell you now. After our waitress returns with our drinks, you are to wait until I take a sip from my drink before you follow suit and take a sip of your pina colada. Now, when you do take that sip, you will gradually begin to become aware of the fact that some as yet elusive something isn't, shall we say, copacetic. As in, you will begin to feel as if some as yet unidentified thing isn't as it should be. Or to put that another way, you will find yourself beginning to feel a little antsy and apprehensive. I suggest that in your uneasiness you might feel a slight draft. You might even go so far as to hug yourself against the chill you're feeling. you know, and rub your arms and maybe even your legs in an effort to warm yourself. You might even find that you have goosebumps. And you might go so far as to even ask someone else at the table if they feel a little cool as well. Next, I suggest that you might begin to feel eerily and unnaturally exposed. You might even use your hands to do a cursory inspection of yourself to see if you can detect what, if anything, is causing you to feel the way you do. Jeff, you do like the feel of satin, do you not? Yes. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, let me suggest that you just don't like the feel of satin. You love it. Fact is, Jeff, you love the sensual and seductive feel of satin so much that you find it erotically stimulating. You know, as in touch, it is a real turn for you. And not only do you love the feel of satin, but you also love the feel of a woman's leg encased in sheer silky hosiery, even if the leg in question happens to be your own. In other words, Jeff, once you touch any part of your body that is encased in either satin or nylon, you will begin to fidget and fuss with yourself in an effort to find any excuse to touch yourself. For example, you might inadvertently reach up and jostle one or the other of those nice, new, and extremely sensitive boobies of yours. You know, to, shall we say, better situated it inside that sexy little dress that I fitted you out with backstage. Or you might inadvertently go so far as to reach under the table and use one or another of your hands to caress those nylon-encased inner thighs of yours. Perhaps you might even become bold enough to run an index finger up along the swath of that new little you-know-what of yours. You know, to give yourself an extemporaneous thrill that'll keep you simmering on low side of a full-blown state of arousal. Then, after a few minutes of behaving in such a fashion, you will find yourself desiring another sip of your drink. So, you take a sip. However, when you return the glass to the table, you will become aware that there is something about your hands that looks different. You will begin to examine them, and when you do, you will come to the stark realization that your hands are those of a woman. And that realization will in turn restore your memory of everything, save for that little question and answer session that occurred here at the table that has happened this evening. You will remember my turning you into my lovely assistant Jasmine and everything, with the exception of what I just now made mention of, that has occurred since. Initially, you will find that being a guy with a girl's body to be extremely disorienting and mildly disconcerting. However, once I assure you that the change is in no way a permanent one and that your manhood will be restored to you while you are asleep tonight, you will begin to quickly warm to the prospect of your being able to experience what it's like to be a woman for a few hours. Truth be told, you will, within the matter of minutes, find the whole situation of your being a man with a woman's body to be extremely erotic and ever so pleasurable. You will find that you like not only looking sexy, but feeling sexy as well. That's to say that you will, within, shall we say, 15 minutes or thereabouts, become an unmitigated dick teaser. In other words, you will adopt the credo of, if you've got it, flaunt it. And flaunt you will. Though your mind will remain as manly entrenched as it ever was, you will nevertheless take great amounts of pleasure playfully torquing the livin' shit out of the libidos of other men. Do you understand? Jeff acknowledged that he did. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, I need to make mention of the fact that you will initially lose all of Jasmine's grace and charms upon the realization that you are a man fitted out with a woman's curvaceous physique. That means your mannerisms will revert to being those of a man, thereby turning you into one oafish, to the point of appearing spastic, looking woman. That's to say that you will be extremely awkward at first, plus those high heels you're wearing will give you a royal fit initially. But don't worry. As long as you take it slow and easy and exercise a little care, you'll find that you'll be able to hobble around in them just fine. A few minutes after your initial disorientation, you will start to become attuned to operating as a girl. Within, shall we say, 5 minutes or thereabouts, you will find that you will be able to get about reasonable well in heels. After 10 minutes, you'll find that they don't even faze you. And after 15 minutes have passed, round about the time you enter the brazen hussy stage, you will be so adept at getting around in stiletto heels that, were I to direct you to do so, you would be able to perform a flawless gymnast floor exercise while still wearing them. In other words, Jeff, 15 minutes after you become aware of the fact that your body is 180 degrees out of sexual sync with your mind, you'll be completely at home with functioning as the nimble little sex pot that you appear to all the world to be. Magatrix continued on to detail and enunciate the major points of the post-hypnotic suggestion she was saddling Jeff with for the next few minutes. Then, as a finishing touch, she continued on to say, Jeff, once you become completely acclimated to this sensational new body I've fitted you out with, you will begin to feel a little bit playful, a little bit frisky. Then, on the heels of that, you will find yourself wishing to dance in the worst way imaginable. Fact is, you will find it hard, but not impossible, to turn down a request from any man who might ask you to join him for a turnabout out on the dance floor. Now, Jeffrey, in order to make it easier for that male ego of yours to deal with what would otherwise be the ignominy of dancing with another man, whenever the music is playing and you're either in physical contact or fairly close proximity to a man, your mental mindset will be as feminine can be. Do you understand? Yes, Jeff weakly managed. I understand. That's it for today. Hope you have enjoyed. If you do, then be sure to subscribe for the next part of this story. See ya!